Hey, what's up everyone? Dragon back again, here to tell you that you should be reading Footprints of Thunder. So Footprints of Thunder is a 1995 science fiction novel written by James F. David, and basically deals with this kind of strange phenomenon in which the boundaries between times begin to crumble, and basically parts of kind of Cretaceous Earth start manifesting themselves in the modern day being 1995, 20th century. And essentially, if you're familiar with a sound of thunder, or the idea of where they go back in time, they step on the butterfly, and it creates a kind of ripple effect where they go back to the present, and you're seeing, it changing. It's similar to that, except now it's literally pieces of Earth's prehistoric past being kind of transplanted in the modern world, whereas you would still have portions of, like, for instance, a city, but now the city is intermixed with a primeval forest or jungle. And with that comes, with the fauna, or the flora comes the fauna. So yes, there are dinosaurs in this book. Dinosaurs now roam the streets of major metropolitan cities. Cities that, again, no longer just look like the cities, but kind of weird, hybridized population centers that look both natural and unnatural. The unnatural being the human construct side of it, the natural being the prehistoric side of it. So this world is now intermixing with prehistoric Earth in the modern age, and it is strange because you're seeing how people are developing and adapting, and how people are reacting to seeing dinosaurs and that. So there's a lot of your classic, like, ooh, and ah moment, like, that's a dinosaur, and a lot of great scenes where they're running and hiding and being generally freaked out. Now the interesting thing about this story, though, is that we as a species have kind of secured our dominion over this world through kind of our rise and technology. Basically, we have created the tools and means in which to dominate the world, so to speak. So there is no animal life in this world that can now rise up under our noses, so to speak, and just take over. We have guns, tanks, planes, nukes, the whole nine yard, where we can kind of suppress anything before we get a chance to kind of rise up. But with the return of the dinosaurs in this story, that differs from perhaps other stories where, for instance, dinosaurs are genetically engineered and created, where they're literally just the animals themselves, but transplanted into our world. So if you've read, honestly, the novel version of Carnosaur, where a rich lord or noble has created dinosaurs, and one of them gets loose, in England, and it's right in the countryside. While this animal might be a perfect copy of its prehistoric, ancestor, it is still at a disadvantage in the sense that it was in the modern setting, in the modern world. In this scenario, though, with the dinosaurs comes their world. So when a dinosaur is transplanted in our world, it is because a piece of its world is brought with it. It's time. So a lot of human infrastructure is starting to come apart, it's starting to break down, because with every piece of the prehistoric past that we gain, we lose a piece of our world. So we're losing chunks of the world in which we hold dominion over, that we have mastery over, and it is replaced by one in which we do not. So depending on where we are, depending where our centers of commerce and government and military power are located, those might now start being lost. Because if you have the Pentagon or the White House, well, now that section of land is gone, replaced by a piece of the Cretaceous period. So that which gives us power is literally disappearing. So it's not just so much that we now have dangerous predators roaming the streets, it's that we are now finding ourselves in an environment that is less like the one we know and more like theirs. They're bringing the home turf with them, so to speak. So it's an interesting idea of what it would be like if not just dinosaurs came back, but the world in which they ruled, because they were masters of their world. They held dominion over the world of their time. So if we just bring dinosaurs back, well, yes, some of them are larger, and some of them are scarier, and some of them are more formidable, to be sure, but ultimately they can be brought down by the same means we have used to kind of suppress the rest of the natural world of today. But what happens when their world comes, and when they start to bring the home turf advantage, if you will, with them? What would that do if we woke up one day and realized that not only have dinosaurs return, but a world that was beyond anything we knew returned with them, a world in which we did not hold sway over? What happened if you woke up one morning and the world had changed? Not just, oh, dinosaurs are back, but no, the world had changed. When you could look out the window you've looked out for 10 years and see a world outside of it that looks nothing like the one you knew. What would that do? How would that change? Or could we adapt? Dinosaurs were around for a significantly longer period than humanity has been. So the true test of humanity's ability to survive and evolve has honestly yet to be tested. Whereas dinosaurs did so with flying colors. They had passing marks all around, and it literally took dare I say, an apocalyptic event to bring them to extinction. And even then, only some of them. We still have avian dinosaurs alive today. So it wasn't even so much an extinction, so much as they got knocked off the top spot, but they're still here. Whereas humanity hasn't faced a cataclysm of that level yet. So we like to assume that we can survive and that we can adapt to anything. But if we are suddenly now introduced to a world that is considerably hardier than the one we know today, would we be able to survive that world? So this isn't a story about dinosaurs invading the modern age. This is the ancient world invading the modern age. The dinosaurs are more or less a byproduct, or passengers that are kind of coming along for the ride. This is a story about literally the old world invading the new world, and which world is tougher, which world is stronger, which world is more formidable, the Cretaceous period or our age, the 20th century, which you can even apply that to the 21st century too. So it's an interesting idea where on the surface it looks like it's just a dinosaur story, that the dinosaurs are the invasive force in this narrative. But in actuality, it really is, two eras literally fighting for supremacy. It is literally two time periods battling, and we are kind of the dinosaurs and the humans are kind of essentially like the cheerleaders, if you will, if I can use that as an analogy or a metaphor, for both time periods. If the Cretaceous period is, one team, the dinosaurs are the cheerleaders on the sidelines, rooting for them, and if the 20th century is the other team, human beings are waving their pom-poms for them. But ultimately we're there to kind of cheer on our team, and it is a story of literally worlds literally colliding in this case, and seeing which one's going to win out, and if possible, could they hybridize? Could they mix? Or are they too at odds with one another? Are they too antagonistic in the sense that they are so specific and have evolved in very different ways to play host to very different forms of life that one cannot survive with the other? Like, one will dominate the other. So that's the question. Can they evolve together? Can they hybridize and become a new Earth? Or is literally one Earth going to be suppressed by the other? Is one Earth going to be destroyed by the other and overtaken by the other, which means the species that came along with that Earth will now become the dominant species, or in fact just the species of this world, driving the other to extinction. So it is a very interesting take on the whole what if dinosaurs were alive today kind of story, in the sense that it's less about them and more about the world in which they inhabit. Could we survive that world? And could dinosaurs survive our world? Because our world is very different than the one that they knew. So therefore, just bringing dinosaurs back arbitrarily might not necessarily equate to their dominion over this world. Our world may not be, compatible for them, and they might ultimately face extinction all over again. Unless, of course, it's their world that takes over, which then they're already finely tuned to survive within it, which means we're probably going to be on the way out. So it is an interesting take on this kind of story, whereas the lost world comes to us, where the lost world is literally the lost world and is literally invading our world. So it's an interesting take on it. It's a different take on it, and it's one that I don't really, outside of something like A Sound of Thunder, you don't really see anything quite like it. So I'm more or less a little surprised that more stories like this haven't been done over the years. It is an interesting concept, and it's a clever take on this kind of narrative, because again, we've all loved seeing the visual spectacle of dinosaurs and humans interacting, in the sense that dinosaurs are alive today somehow. I mean, everyone's always wanted to see a dinosaur. Growing up, the idea of seeing a dinosaur in the 20th century or the 21st century is such a surreal sight, yet it'd be something that would captivate the whole world. So again, not the first time this has been done, but to do it in this way is very original, very interesting, and very different, and in an approach to this kind of story that I wouldn't mind seeing more often, because I think it brings up a lot of interesting questions. Again, it was what this means. Again, if dinosaurs just came back on their own, we could probably tame them and harness them much like we've done with the rest of the natural world. But to bring them back in this fashion with their world is a different story altogether. But anyway, Footprints of Thunder. Have you read it? There are a couple sequels to this this book. I've began reading the follow-up to it, years ago now, and I, for whatever reason, never got a chance to finish it. But doing discussion for this video and remembering the first book and how much I actually really enjoyed it, I'm probably going to be going back to that one and just rereading what I read and finishing it up. And then there was also now a third book to that one too. So probably doing videos for the other two in the relative near future, because again, it is an interesting concept, an interesting story, and it's a story that really lends itself, I feel, to like an ongoing narrative, which the author seems to have felt the same way about. But anyway, if you have not read it, if you're not, as always, I will leave links in the description section below. You can pick it up, check it out, give it a read, come back, give me some of your thoughts, let me know what you think. I'm always curious to get your guys' take on it, because again, I also have my feelings on it, but it's always sometimes interesting to see what other people pull from it, because you guys might approach it from a different angle or perspective than I did, and notice something or take away something from it that I would have never have thought to. So it gives me another perspective on the story that I would not have otherwise. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace!